am back. Hello. Before we get started today, I just want to take a moment just to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, who has followed, who have shared the podcast. Those of you who left comments and sent messages of encouragement, I thank you. But a special thank you to those of you who reached out to me through WhatsApp and messages asking how we were doing. We're doing okay. We are doing okay. And honestly, your kindness means so much to us. Means more than you even know. I also want to thank you for accepting this podcast exactly as it is, because behind these scenes here, there isn't a big production team. It's just me. I'm the writer. I'm the producer. I'm the researcher. I'm the lighting technician. I'm the camera operator. And I'm the editor. And most nights, I'm sitting right here in my attic, surrounded by nothing but clothes and shoes. Just trying to figure out all this by myself. And figure it out as I go. So thank you for giving me grace when something isn't perfect. Thank you for focusing on the story instead of the imperfections. And thank you for taking this journey with me, because together we are building something bigger than a podcast. We are building a community of people who believe in home, who believe in legacy, and learning from each other's experiences. Now let's get into today's episode. August 2025. Wow. That was the promise. 7 months. In 7 months, you guys are going to be in your house. Imagine that. That felt good. 7 months from contract signing to completion. And looking back now, I smile when I think about it. Because during those first few months of 2025, Luke and I genuinely believed that we would be walking through a completed house by the end of summer. And honestly, at the time we had every reason to believe it. Because why? The foundation was complete. And you know, when foundation is completed, bricks go up fast. So the walls were rising, the photographs kept coming, the update sounded positive. The dream, my listeners, the dream felt real. But sometimes the most dangerous stage of any journey isn't when things are falling apart. Sometimes it's when everything appears to be going exactly according to plan. Welcome back to Building Back Home with Jackie.
Yeah, man, the vision's strong. Building back home where I belong. Ooh, yeah. But every foundation got...
Before we continue, please remember that this podcast is shared for educational and informational purposes based on my personal experiences and my observations. It does not constitute legal, financial, engineering, construction, or professional advice. This is simply my story. And another thing before we continue, I want you to keep in mind, please. Building back home, whether it is in Barbados or anywhere, can be successful. It can be successful. There's so many people that have had an amazing journey and with little or no issues. Success comes from preparation, documentation, patience, professional advice, clear communication, and understanding the realities of building from a distance. My goal for this podcast is not to discourage anyone from building back home. My goal is to help you navigate the journey with your eyes open and your peace protected. And every circumstance is different. This podcast is not about discouraging dreams. It is about sharing one family's experience, our family's experiences, so that others can approach their own journey with greater preparation, stronger systems, and more peace of mind. And in today's changing world, and we know how the world is changing, I believe that building back home is more important now than ever. Matter of fact, I encourage it. I encourage people to invest in their future. Strengthen your connections to home and your family. Create something meaningful for the generations to come. Because I still believe in building back home. I simply believe we should do it with our eyes open. Story time. Let me get my glasses and my phone, just in case I have to reach into something. By January 2025, the contract had finally been signed, as you know, on our end. The excavation was behind us, the foundation had been poured, the walls were beginning to rise, and for the first time, this dream that started back in 1999 no longer felt like a distant possibility, it felt real. One thing I don't think people fully understand about building back home from abroad is how emotionally powerful progress photos can be. Every few days, my phone would ping, especially when my relative passed by going to or from his home. A little update on what seemed like us to be progress. And it could be encouraging. He courteously sent that to us. A new photo, a new video, another wall went up. Look here, another section completed, another visible sign that something was happening on our land. And every time one of those photos arrived, I felt happy, glad. I felt relieved. Because when you're thousands of miles away, progress becomes emotional currency. You zoom in, take my phone and I zoom in. I study the corners of the picture. I look at everything. I even started to imagine that I have a picture on that wall. I study, well, okay, this is the family room, this is the living room. I started imagining you and I by the house laughing because I love to entertain and having fun as we laugh at ourselves. I thought of future vacations, future gatherings with my family and friends, and most of all, future retirement years. And that's exactly what we were doing. We were dreaming about those times. Luke and I were mentally moving into a house that didn't yet exist. I even started to buy wallpaper. paintings. The future, though, suddenly felt close. And then there was August. August 2025 became the date that we focused on because our contract stated that. The finish line, the goal, the promise in 7 months. Now, professionally, I work in document control management. My everyday life revolves around contracts and schedules and drawings and revisions and specifications and records and construction documentation. And if there's one thing I've learned over 3 decades in that industry, it's this. Schedules are not promises. Schedules are plans. And plans only work when every moving piece stays aligned. So professionally, I knew 7 months was ambitious. But emotionally, I wanted to believe it because this wasn't just another project file. This was Barbados, the place that my mind goes to whenever I want to release stress. This was home. This was legacy. This was family and friends. This was retirement planning. Let me get a little tissue here. A dream that we had carried for years. And maybe that's why this phase felt so exciting. Everything appeared to be moving forward. In the previous episode, I also mentioned that in November 2025, I told you I had forgotten to tell you that I had made an appointment with a local bank. So while I'm there, I would get some details on understanding how the local bank loans and the options for overseas builders. So I would say, though, my initial experience and the communication with the banker when I did visit went very well. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about trying to build back home in Barbados and doing it during a holiday season. Patience. Patience can become part of your project budget too. Between independence celebration, Christmas coming, government office slowing down, and the entire island, we just be on holiday. We got the energy in the air. You will quickly learn that Caribbean timing and overseas timing don't always sail in the same boat. So if you're traveling, trying to handle banks and government agencies, approvals, paperwork, or business before flying back overseas, be prepared to bring your patience and a smile. Because trust me, we're not going to be in the bank for a while. And honestly, that became another lesson for me from this voyage. Sometimes we in the diaspora, we arrive with tight schedules and return flights and work deadlines. And for me, that New York energy and that up north pace, and that's all in our head. But our dear motherland, she's moving in a different tide. And if you're fighting the tide instead of slowing down with the pace and understanding it and accepting, frustration just come quick. If you think that because you're from the USA, you're from Canada and the UK, that you getting a pass, if we ever catch you in that line upset or complaining, we gonna lunch and you're gonna be last. Like it happened to me. But one thing though, I learned and I truly appreciate as I wait in line, good mornings, the how are you? I hear your mother was not well. How's your mom? Or I have a breadfruit for you, pass by. Something we in the diaspora would never hear as we quickly conduct business in our establishments over and away. That's the part of Barbados. That's the part of my culture. That's the part that my mind and my inner Bajan emotions, I miss it so much. Another important part of my story, and to tell you, is something that many people didn't realize. Luke and I, we were completely funding this project on our own. This was a self-funding project. This was no construction loan. We had no lender, no bank inspector reviewing progress, no institution watching over our project. Every payment came directly from our savings. Every decision mattered, every dollar mattered, every mistake mattered. And when you're spending your own money, you pay attention differently. You become intentional and you become careful. You become creative. And dear Luke assigned me as the captain of the boat. So I handled all the changing currents as I navigated our savings. This case, the currencies, the Barbados dollars. The local banks in Barbados are US dollars. The exchange rates, I knew the dates, the exchange rates, the fees, the proposals, the invoices, the receipts, the statements, the communications. They all fell under me. Now, around the same time, Luke and I started discussing future selections because we're using our own money now and we're saying, okay, let's see how we can save here and there and not going cheap, but going in a way that it does not cost our sanity and does not deplete all of our savings. So we started discussing windows, doors, and cabinetry. The things that eventually transform a structure into a home. We asked our architect if he could connect us with a trusted supplier, our trusted suppliers. So our goal was simple. We wanted to maintain quality and manage costs and reduce unnecessary travel, because with logistics we would have had to probably travel once, twice, go down, visit suppliers, go and spend time looking at the items and so on. But we tried to make it simple. At the time, it felt like a smart strategy for us to remove those items from the contract and to source them ourselves. For the first time, we weren't just talking about concrete and blocks. We were talking about finishes, and we started talking about colors and styles. The details that make a house feel personal. That decision to us looked like calm waters until it became the most frightful part of this journey as we neared the eye of the storm. Looking back now, some of those conversations would become far more important than we realize. But that's for a big episode, because we can still see land on this journey. we're still seeing land. Matter of fact, you can still see the top of the lighthouse. So we are still traveling through. And though these episodes may seem to some like it's not getting on the journey fast enough, for those in the diaspora, I want you to know that this contract had 4 phases. We were looking at foundations and excavation and mobilization in the first. You would have the walls and the structure and so on going on. The third phase, we had windows and doors and renderings. And we had roof. And the finishes would be cabinetry and tiles and electrical and plumbing and finishing up. So I'm taking you through piece by piece because for every step, every event, there is something required, but something also happened, which pulled me to look at red flags and lessons learned. But as the journey goes on and the boat speeds up, you would see the reason why you needed to hear this part first as we start up the engine. You would see why we needed to pass through these events first. Because when you get to the storm, you're going to need it. You're going to need the survival tools. You would see that the survival tools and the memories would bring you back to, I'm glad I had that too. I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad that I put that oil in the engine. I'm glad that I checked that engine. You will see. So, as the conversations progressed, we started discussing removing certain items from the contract scope because we intended to source them separately. The understanding was that appropriate adjustments would be made later. But looking back now, one sentence stands out. Don't worry, we'll handle that later. We'll adjust it later. Professionally, I know documentation works best when changes are captured as they happen, not later, not eventually. However, the project appeared to be moving smoothly. The walls were rising. August was the target date. And excitement has a funny way of convincing you that details can wait, right? So let me give you this episode's cultural moment. Back home, we say, when the sea calm, that is when fishermen prepare. The old fishermen understand something important. You don't wait for rough water before checking your boat. You prepare while the sea still sweet. You prepare while the sky still blue. You prepare while everything feels comfortable. Because preparation is what protects you when the weather eventually changes. For this episode's red flags, looking back now, there were some early warning signs. Major decisions being left to future documentation. Another red flag, verbal understandings replacing the immediate written clarification. Momentum that's creating a false sense of security. And from those, as I look back at what has happened and what has been happening with us, the lessons that we learned, that I learned, to change the documents when they happen. Don't assume Future paperwork will solve present uncertainty, and never allow excitement to outrun administration, because the bigger the dreams, the stronger the systems required to protect it. I want to push in something for you to do. Oh, let me ask you, what would you do if you were building your dream home and someone told you, "Don't worry, we'll sort out the paperwork later"? Would you keep moving forward, or would you stop and insist everything be documented immediately? What would you do? Please, I beg, drop a comment below. I genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Because if you're enjoying this journey, please subscribe, follow, and share this Building Back Home with Jackie. And if you know someone building back home, or planning retirement overseas, or investing from abroad, please share this episode with them. Because sometimes the lesson you need is hidden inside someone else's experience. By the end of March 2025, we felt really good. For me, I was happy, glad, because the walls were rising, and August was the target date. The supplier with the windows and door strategy, that was underway, and the future looked bright. And looking back now, March may have been the most confident month of our entire journey. We are passing the lighthouse and we're heading out, because what arrived wasn't another progress photo. It wasn't another construction milestone, and it wasn't another reason to celebrate. It was a flood of payment requests, multiple directions, multiple commitment, multiple deadlines, and for the first time, the money started moving faster than the construction. And that's where we're going to pick up next time, because in episode 4, the tide now start pulling harder than we ever expected. Hey! At this stage, I thought I was building back home. I didn't realize I was auditioning to become a part-time project manager, a document controller, a procurement specialist, a private investigator, and an international risk taker, all at the same time. This is Jackie, and I'll see you in the next episode.
From foreign shores, I bring the vision home. Built a legacy from concrete and from stone. Got the blueprints drawn, the white sands calling me. For the Diaspora's children, planting the family tree. Building back home against the Atlantic tide. With Bajan roots and all that island pride. Watch the foundation rise, a brand new dawn in store. This ain't just building houses, it's something so much more. Yeah, it's Jackie and Luke building back home in Barbados.